Chapter 12. A blast of cold air hit me the minute I stepped out of the car. I'd heard of the Imperial Hotel, but I'd never been inside. It was huge. We had to drive around 3 times to find a space in the parking lot, and that was only because someone else was leaving. Saki and Aseye had their arms around each other. Saki's hand looked to be under Aseye's blouse. I followed them into the hotel. A bouncer at the door asked for our invites. Saki showed them to him. He let us through and we went to the outdoor pool where a huge crowd had already gathered. The air was thick with cigarette smoke. Goosebumps formed on my arms and the back of my neck. Aseye took me by the hand and led me to the bar. Saki looked faintly amused and ordered 3 shots of I don't know what exactly for each of us. "Let's get you warmed up," Aseye said, handing me one of the shots. Saki had already downed his and was asking for another. I took a sip of my drink and choked. "Like this," Aseye said. She threw her head back and downed the drink in one gulp. I followed her lead. In seconds, a warmth began to spread from my belly outwards. I didn't feel cold anymore. I felt warm and happy. A guy walked up to me. He bumped his fist with Saki. "Who be this?" Saki shrugged. Aseye said, Eko's girl." I smiled. Eko's girl. It felt so right. In minutes, Eko himself was at my side. Aseye leaned towards me and whispered into my ear, "I already told him you liked him. Remember, use what you have to get what you want." I pushed him away from me, but he just got more excited and pulled me closer. He was strong. I clawed at his face and back with my fake nails. He got the message and stopped. "What is it?" he panted. "Stop, I want to get out." "Huh?" Aseye said you liked me. I straightened my blouse, tugged my shorts down, and tried to get the extra material that had ridden into my butt crack out. I do, but not like this. This is not what I wanted." A look of pure hatred entered his eyes. "You are just a tease. Get out of my car right now." I scrambled out of the car. Eko climbed into the driver's seat, threw my handbag out, and sped off. I walked barefooted back to the hotel. My slippers had fallen off in the car. I looked for Mancha in the lobby. He wasn't there. I tried calling his number, but couldn't get through. I went back into the parking lot. The Mona Lisa was nowhere to be found. I went back to the party. The dance floor was empty. Couples were in the water and on the beach chairs and up against the walls, seriously making out. Some people were passed out cold on the floor. Some were retching into flower pots. All I wanted was to leave. I finally found Aseye and Saki on one of the pool chairs. Her bra had come undone and Aseye's hands were all over her. "Aseye, I want to leave now." Saki cursed. Aseye scrambled off his lap and turned to me. "Where is Eko?" He left. Aseye dragged me away from Saki, who was shooting daggers my way with his glances. "What do you mean he left?" I explained what had happened. Aseye laughed. "Haven't you been smooched before? It's just a little harmless fun." I didn't say anything. It hadn't seemed like harmless fun. What if he had wanted more than that? Aseye went to speak to Saki. We'll have to drop you off somewhere. You can get the bus to Ada tomorrow. Saki and I are going to his hostel. Drop me off where? Why can't you take us to your house? Are you crazy? At 2 a.m. in the morning, when I'm supposed to be with you in Ada? What would my dad say? I followed them to Saki's car. Saki didn't even look at me. He drove like 1,000 demons were after him. He was going to drop me off at the Tudu station. Hopefully, I'll just have to wait for 2 hours before the buses started loading for Ada. Just before we got to Tudu, we were stopped at a police checkpoint. One of the police officers shone his torch into the car. I shielded my eyes, but not before I'd seen the look in his eyes when he saw my clothes and the state they were in. The policeman asked Saki why he wasn't in his seat belt. Saki was trying to give an explanation when the policeman said, "Masa, step out. You've been drinking." I just had a bottle of beer in addition to a whole distillery. The policeman asked him to walk a straight line. Saki kept weaving on and off the line. The policeman clamped his hand on Saki's shoulder and said, "Masa, you come with us to the station." Saki tried to shrug the officer's hand off and tried getting into the car. "Masa, don't add resisting arrest to your charges." Aseye took out her purse and tried to slip a 10 CD note into the police officer's hand. "Hey, bribing a police officer?" 2 other policemen came to where our car stood. Saki was pushed into the back seat. A policeman climbed in beside me. The first policeman sat behind the wheel beside Aseye and drove us to the police station. It took some time for me to realize what was happening. We were being arrested. Aseye and I were asked to take off our jewelry and asked to hand over our phones and were sent behind the counter. Someone came to take our statements. Saki started talking about his right to a lawyer and a phone call. I was too scared to speak. Aseye refused to speak without a lawyer present. They put Saki in a cell. My heart was in my throat. What would Pope say if I didn't come home later today? Would Mancha tell him he'd seen me? What would he say when I called him and told him I'd been arrested when I was supposed to be sound asleep in Aseye's house? After about 2 hours, one officer asked Aseye and I to get our things and leave. It was almost 5 a.m. I put on my clothes, the khaki trousers and blouse over the party clothes. There was nothing I could do about shoes. Aseye stopped a taxi. We climbed in together. "Don't worry about Saki. His father is a big man. They'll let him out. Will you go home?" "It's too early. I'll go and crash at Kwabna's place." "Is Kwabna still your boyfriend?" "Of course." I thought she had broken up with him and was now dating Saki. "What about Saki?" "Look, don't come and judge me. I don't have a rich father or a rich stepmother like you. My father is jobless. My mother barely makes enough to keep the house running. How do you think I'm going to pay my fees? How do you think I'll rent a room in a hostel or pay for books or feed or clothe myself? Don't sit there and judge me. You don't know what it's like to be in my shoes." We rode to the station in silence. I climbed out of the car and boarded one of the buses, which was loading. The end of the chapter.